going on, everybody? It's the VG Mobster here, and today we are going to be reviewing The Takeover on Nintendo Switch. Is this the Streets of Rage 4 killer, or can it go right alongside it? If you guys like more Nintendo Switch reviews like this, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell for more in the future. Now let's get right into it. The Takeover review on Nintendo Switch. So let's start off with the graphics, mobsters. Now, I have to say, this game does look absolutely stunning. All the backgrounds and the environments, they're so varied, they're so sharp, they're so detailed. The game runs at 60 frames per second in docked or handheld mode on Nintendo Switch. The lighting effects are gorgeous for every type of stage. There's so much variety in the stages. There's, obviously you have your common streets, you have arcades, you have bars, you have jungles and forests, you have airborne section, you have dojos, you have your classic elevator levels. All the scenes and the environments in this game are awesome. The character models, now again, this is for the main characters that you play as. I didn't have as much an issue with them. They ran really smooth. The graphics were nice. It's kind of like a CG 3D modeled look. Now the only problem I do have though with the graphics, there's a little chink in the armor here, is that some of the enemy animations are not as good as the main character animations, and they have sort of a plasticky look to some of them. Not all of them, but some of the characters, because the animation isn't up to par with the actual playable characters, they feel like a little stiff and plasticky in their look. So, I mean, other than that, though, the graphics, eventually my eyes got used to it, and everything else really good in this game. The sharpness, the resolution, everything is very good. So this is a nice looking game. Let's go into the sound, the next best thing about this game. The soundtrack is kicking. You got Streets of Rage composers actually doing songs on this. You got your techno synths, you got your aggressive guitars, you got your ethnic themed kind of music for the dojo levels and in the forest and stuff like that. Everything was so kicking. All the ambient sound effects for your punches and your kicks and the gunshots, and all the enemy sounds were all really good, and they all like rocked and they were in sync, and they definitely packed a punch and kept the story and the game moving forward at a really good pace. So really enjoyed the soundtrack and the actual sound effects in this game. So now let's go into the gameplay here. This is where this game really shines in terms of separating itself from other beat-em-ups, okay? You have dedicated punch and kick buttons, which is really cool for this type of game. So you can kind of mix up if you want to do punch and kicks. It doesn't kind of automatically just give you the choice itself and create combos for you. You can create your own combos between the punches and the kicks. So that was really nice. And then also every character has a gun that they can use during the game. In addition, now you can pick up like more beefier guns throughout the game as additionals, kind of in addition to like your standard lead pipes and crowbars and swords and stuff like that. But I mean, the gun in here is really good. It actually helps you with the longer range attacks for enemies, and especially at the end when more of the robotic characters come in and more hordes of enemies come, you gotta make sure you use the guns and your punch and kicks combinations in addition to really get through the game. And I really liked adding this mechanic in. It just kind of changed it up a little bit from other games and went from there. And now also in terms of gameplay, this was a really nice addition. They had these two kind of like side missions in between the main campaign missions. One of them was where you kind of ride in a car and start shooting all the enemies and jumping and going through a highway, shooting out rocket launchers and stuff. I mean, again, it was pretty smooth throughout. But it just was a nice break in the action from the standard left to right side scroll beat 'em up. This one's like kind of from behind the car, you're going back and forth. So that was a really cool change up. And then there's one other sub stage where you're flying a plane and you're kind of like going, you know, afterburner assault style, flying arcade shooter style. Now this mode, it was a cool idea, but I feel like the execution wasn't as smooth as the car mode. There was, I did see some frame stutter and drops in these sections, so I don't really know, maybe there could be a patch in the future that fixes it up, but I do appreciate them trying to change up the gameplay with these two different modes. So between that and the guns, really cool new mechanics and elements in this game that separate it from other beat 'em ups. So let's go into some other gripes that I do have with this game. Is the multiplayer options, okay? So now, in terms of this, there's a 2-player local multiplayer, which to me is essential in any of these beat 'em up games. If you don't have 2-player local, don't make a beat 'em up game, in my opinion. But the problem with this is that there's also no online multiplayer, which, again, because Streets of Rage 4 had at least 2 online multiplayer, and it actually had 4 local multiplayer, this game just feels lacking in that department. And the other thing too, which I've said on my 80s Overdrive review, if you're not going to have online play, you should at least have online leaderboards. And this game, again, does not have online leaderboards. It does have a internal kind of ranking that you can battle yourself. But again, it would have been nice just to add, at least an online leaderboards. You can see, what your score was compared to others that are playing the game. So in terms of the multiplayer options, I feel like that was definitely lacking. The other thing that I think was lacking in this game was the cutscenes. Now the cutscenes are done here in kind of like a comic book, completely cel-shaded style, which again, by themselves it looks good, but it totally clashes with the actual main appearance of the game, which I was telling you guys in the graphics section is more of like a CG look. So I feel like the two really didn't mix together and they felt like disjointed. So I don't know, for some reason that just bothered me mentally when I was playing the game, and I couldn't really get into the cutscenes as much as I would have if it had more of a cohesive look to both of them throughout. Now let's go into the replayability here. This is another way that the Takeover shines. There are a good amount of modes in addition to your standard arcade campaign mode, which does last a good amount of hours for a beat 'em up. I felt like the length was really fair of this game, and it was really nice because a lot of times when I play beat 'em ups, I feel like the length is too short. So this one really felt good when I finished it. Actually, when you beat the main campaign for the first time, you unlock a character, and then you actually unlock another rotate character where you can kind of switch between character slot. So you do get some unlockables with it. There's a challenge mode that opens up, which is pretty cool. So when you beat it, they have this mode unlocks, and it shows you a couple different challenges that you can do to the stages that you beat in, just to kind of add more replayability, where it was either not using special moves, beating in a certain time, not jumping. There's a lot of different challenges that add onto the experience here. There's also a survival mode where you pretty much just there's enemies and enemies that are coming at you, and you just have to see how long you can survive. And again, some cool extra modes in here that it has that kind of adds the replayability. And another thing, when you beat the game, there's also all the stages that you beat, you can then go back and they're unlocked for each character. So if you wanted to see if you can improve your score with different characters for different stages, once you beat the game, you can go in and select that. So again, pretty cool options there on the replayability. So let's get into the verdict of this game. Mobsters, I really enjoyed this one. I'm going to give it a 3.5 out of 5 fedoras. The pros for me, definitely the graphics and the performance. The kickin' soundtrack was awesome. The gameplay was really smooth. The problems that I did have with this game, though, was that the online play was lacking, which I think really hurts it. There was no online leaderboards, and I feel like they could have gelled cutscenes and the actual gameplay together more and kept experience more cohesive. But I feel like because they went with two totally different art styles, they didn't always mesh well. But other than that, this game is really solid, and it actually has some advantages over Streets of Rage 4, which I was surprised about. So what did you guys think of the takeover? Did you guys like it? Did you agree with the points that I made? Did you feel like this really needed online, or did it not bother you? Let me know in the comments below. Until the next one, guys. Peace.